Good evening. This is Patricia Barnett, and this class is Cultural Perspectives in Psychology, and this module is looking at culture and personality. We'll take a look at a number of different perspectives when it comes to personality, starting with personality and personality traits. Then we'll take a look at the five-factor model. We'll also take a look at internal versus external locus of control, and then we'll close with personality and cultural differences. Personality is a collection of qualities that make us distinctly who we are. They broadly refer to the various and unique aspects of someone's characteristics that include behavior, cognitive traits, or those predispositions that we all have and that are a part of who we are and go with us in different situations and contexts. Our personality is the concept that makes us different from each other, and also what guides our interactions with others. According to research, personality is believed to be stable across time and is consistent across contexts, consistent across situations, and consistent in our interactions. Personality traits. I alluded to traits earlier as one of the characteristics of personality, and traits are those very specific characteristics or qualities that help to distinguish the individual from another person. Traits make us uniquely who we are. The study of trait psychology goes back to Gordon Allport's 1936 work on the concept, where he argued that traits do in fact influence behavior, but are not the major determinant of how a person might behave when dealing with the situations they're confronted with. Traits refer to behaviors and feelings that are consistent across situations and contexts. A perfect example of trait is someone who's considered reserved or shy. Well, this person often may not be the first to walk up to others or to walk up to a group and start a conversation because they're reserved and they're shy, but would instead prefer to stay in the background. Another example of trait would be conscientiousness, which I will address later in this presentation when I discuss the five-factor model. A conscientious person, however, is considered very self-disciplined, among other characteristics, so this person knows how to manage their feelings and has good willpower. The five-factor model, according to Matsumoto and Zhang's 2017 work, speaks of personality as a concept built around five distinct and basic dimensions of personality that seem universal among all humans. And those are neuroticism, which speaks to how much anxiety, depression, or angry hostility a person exhibits in their behavior. The other is extroversion, which speaks to someone's warmth, their assertiveness, their positive emotions, their gregariousness or sociableness. Number 3 on the five-factor model is openness. And this describes individuals who are open-minded, they're curious, they have an affinity towards imagination, ideas, and action. Then there's agreeableness, and these traits include trust, straightforwardness, altruism, and compliance. And then lastly, conscientiousness. And this includes traits such as competence, order, being dutiful, being self-disciplined, and when someone is conscientious, they have a great affinity or respect for structure. Let's take a look at internal versus external locus of control. Locus of control is another dimension of personality, and it's broken down into two, making someone either having an internal locus or an external locus of control. The person with an internal locus of control is the person who sees their behavior and their relationships with others as dependent on their own behavior, especially, or essentially rather, owning or taking responsibility for whatever outcomes may occur. The person with an external locus of control, on the other hand, doesn't see it that way, but instead they believe that their behavior and what happens in the environment and in their relationships are outside of their control and based mainly on other forces of which they had very little control. Culture seems to play a role in how much locus of control one may have, according to research. Research suggests that in general, European Americans seem to have a higher level of internal locus of control over some Asian and African nations. Locus of control is also taking personal responsibility for events and situations and owning the fact that personal control belongs to you or me or us. Let's take a look now at personality and cultural differences. Some research suggests that personality is biologically innate, meaning personalities are universal and natural, while some argue, or others argue, that personality is indigenous and culture is a central component of it, and individuals are merely behaving based on their very specific cultural perspectives or expectations. A national character is a term used when discussing culture and personality and argues that each culture has a personality type and most persons in that culture share huge elements of it. One thing we must keep in mind as psychologists and anthropologists is when we talk about national character, we should be careful lest we begin to stereotype. Yes, we may all be from the same culture, but individuals are just that, individuals, and are different. Later research, however, suggests that both theories may have some validity in understanding personality, and traits are measured across cultures and then compared to other cultures for equivalency. Ultimately, the understanding is that personality is multidimensional with various influences, which include biology and culture. Traits seem to be rooted in biology and genetic predispositions and may be less impervious to cultural influences. On the other hand, life experiences and motives and certain narratives shape behavior and in these cases may not suggest biological influences. Now, if I were to try to incorporate this in a business or my place of business, I perhaps would take a look at the five-factor model, because most of today's discussion and lesson surround personality, which has a strong biological influence. I would therefore choose the five-factor model as the concept to train and perhaps implement where possible in the organization. Keep in mind the five-factor model is described as having basic dimensions of personality traits that are universal being key to all humans. Again, these are neuroticism, openness, extroversion, agreeableness, and conscientiousness. A series of interactive training classes where participants are confronted with different scenarios involving these concepts and through role playing, I believe would allow employees to incorporate and learn more about personality, because the five-factor model is such a broad-based dimension, has such a broad-based dimension of personality. So through role playing, it would cement the learning while building confidence along the way, because someone might be shy, but by role playing and understanding different cultures, that might build their confidence and cement their learning along the way. Thank you for joining me. I hope that this was very informative, and I'll see you next time.